Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Drew Dinsick of NBC Sports will join us. We'll talk Kentucky Derby, NBA playoffs for this weekend, and the playoffs is where we will start. And let's face it, it's been a disappointing, anticlimactic first round, but the Knicks and the Sixers was anything but, and the Knicks finish off the Sixers in dramatic fashion. What a game, what a series. The 6 games in total, the Knicks end up outscoring the Sixers by 1 point combined over the 6 games. And oh man, wouldn't even know where to start with this, as we do have that series set now. The Pacers blow out the Bucks, Knicks for Sixers. So all sorts of mid 90s feel to it. These teams did play in 2013. We have a series price, Knicks laying minus 205, laying 205 here on the series line. So Knicks over 2-1 favorites. I think that line is even a little short. Knicks are going to win this series, but give the Knicks credit. I mean, what a tough team. What a tough team. Up 20, down 3 at half, down 7, I think 83-76. You figure, all right, here we go. Let's get ready for game 7. At 95 all, and again, there were so many different turning points of just this game. 95 all, Brunson hits the back-to-back threes, 101-95. You're in good shape. At 107-101, Knicks about to put it away. Anunoby with the dunk, the and one to 109-101. Only a few minutes left. Misses a free throw. Okay, no big deal. Instead of being up 9, you're up 8. Not a big deal. But before you blink, you're tied. And then with 24 seconds left, Hart hits the 3. So again, so many back and forths. Give the Knicks credit. They fouled. They fouled up 3. They learned their lesson from Tuesday night. Now they fouled a little early. They weren't perfect. You don't want to foul 5 feet up the court with 10 seconds left in the game. But fouling early and fouling wrong is better than not fouling at all. And what happened was the Knicks fouling made Philly realize, hey, once we finally got a look at the end with Hield to tie it, Hield completely rushed his shots in what is one of just the worst attempts you'll ever see. So the fact that he goes, hey, the Knicks are going to foul if I don't shoot this right away, he basically just launches it like a grenade. As soon as it hits his fingers, he just throws up a prayer. And that's what fouling does. That's why you do foul up 3. And the Knicks, just a gutty effort, win the game, move on to the conference semifinals, and I think moving on to the conference finals. Now, look, this team's not winning a championship. They're probably not getting to the finals, but they put themselves at least in a position where getting to the conference finals is something. And think about where they were in 2019. They were just such a train wreck, and basically, barring a year here and there with Carmelo and D'Antoni, that 1 year with Woodson, I mean, barring a couple of years from 2000 to 2020, this team was a complete disaster, a complete tire fire, poorly run, bad trades, bad coaches. And you figure, hey, if they're ever going to get off of this path and get back on track and overcome the fact that Dolan was their owner, it would have to be getting lucky, either getting lucky in the lottery and getting the #1 pick in the draft like Zion. And boy, that draft 2019, they went in with the best odds. They didn't get the first pick with Zion. They didn't get the second pick with Morant. They ended up with Barrett, who's not even on the team anymore. You figure they get lucky in the lottery and get the #1 pick, or you figure they get like a Durant or LeBron to come there, and that's how they get out of jail. But they didn't. They got out of there just savvy move after savvy move. Brunson, good picks, quickly. McBride, just little move after little move, just minor transaction after minor transaction. It's stacked up, and here they are again, not holding up a trophy anytime soon. And it'll be an interesting summer when that time comes of, hey, do they go shopping for a superstar with all these picks they have? Because look, they have their picks. They have extra picks from the Porzingis trade way back. And they've just stacked up little transaction, little win after little win in these off seasons, in these maneuvers. And here they are in the second round, I think going to the third round. So all the credit to the Knicks and what has been an otherwise anticlimactic first round. Just a great first round series. Good for the Knicks, good for their fans as the Knicks move on. And I've sort of hinted at this the last week. There's so many of these teams that have gone all in that are older: Clippers, Bucks, Lakers. Now you throw the Sixers in there. So many of these disappointing older teams where you figure that have superstars. You figure this summer something's going to happen, or one of these superstars says, you know what, I've had it. I want out. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go to a better situation. Or these teams just say, you know what, what's the point of running this back with Durant, with Kawhi, and some of these other situations that have superstars say, you know what, I have all my picks out in trades. I have all veterans. I'm tied up in terms of money. I need to get some of this back. I can't keep going down this path. So we'll see if a superstar does break loose this summer. That will be something to keep an eye on. Whether it's Durant that gets traded. Although if you listen to the Suns owner a couple of days ago, he said, hey, I'm in as good a position as anyone. Teams would kill to be in my position. I mean, talk about delusion. So That's for another day. The story today, Knicks move on. Knicks will face the Pacers and I think beat the Pacers, and I think beat them pretty handily. The Garden, a chance to move to the conference finals. They were in this position last year against Miami and they let it slip through their fingers, lost game one, and then home court held up throughout where they lost game one in the Garden that Sunday afternoon, and then they couldn't break through and steal one in Miami. I don't think this is the case this year. I think they win their first two in Miami. They win their first two at home against the Knicks. Then they maybe split in Indiana and win in 5, maybe 6. I think they win this series and win it comfortably. So fun weekend. We'll get to the Kentucky Derby with Drew here in a minute. Just quickly, the Friday games. Mavs laying 8 against the Clippers. It's hard to back the Clippers after that performance in Game 5 where they're just completely run off the floor. And to me, the Clippers are everything that's wrong with the NBA in modern ages, where ever since Kawhi and Paul George got together, they've been too good for everybody else. They've been too good for the regular season. They load manage, and now, the last few years they've gotten hurt. The Clippers are a complete mess in terms of all the assets they've given up, and to only be out of the first round, once or twice. I think they've won 3 combined series. This is just an abject disaster. I do think the Mavs move on and win this series. I just think the 8's a little inflated. I mean, they played Game 4 on Sunday. The line was 5.5, 6. Now we're laying 8 just because of one bad performance. Home court hasn't meant a ton in these matchups between the Clippers and the Mavs. So it would be a lean towards the Clippers again. Do I want to sit there and bet the Clippers? I don't, but that line does look a little high. Magic Cavs, home court has held up throughout in that one. Magic laying 4. I don't want to lay 4 with the Magic. I guess I'd go back to the well with the under, where this has mostly been an under series. It's been a little more high scoring the last few games. Pace has picked up. I would think Orlando would win, but I'm not dying to lay 4, similar to Mavs Clippers, where, hey, I'm not dying to lay the points. If I had to bet, I'd bet the under Magic Cavs. I do think we'll probably get back to some ugly basketball in that series. That's been mostly an under series, just for the most part in that series, even though that was a little bit of more of a high scoring game in Game 5 where it did creep over the total. And that was the first competitive game we've gotten in that series in Game 5, which kind of flew under the radar because it was the same night as Knicks Sixers Game 5. What was that, on Tuesday night? So probably headed for a Game 7. It'd be nice to get one Game 7 in this round. I mean, sweep, 5-gamer, 5-gamer, 6-gamer. It'd be nice to get 1 7-gamer. So maybe Magic Cavs does it. And again, there's not even that much drama with Magic Cavs, because even if it does go 7, okay, it's a Game 7. Nothing better than Game 7. The winner plays Boston, so it's not like it's not like the winner's going anywhere. The winner's going to do anything. It's just a mere formality. It's just a matter of delaying your death of, hey, you want to lose this round or you want to lose next round. So, Ben, overall, I would say a disappointing first round here in the playoffs. I guess, boy, would I take the 8 with the Clippers? I guess you have to take the 8, even though it's ugly. It's Mavs could easily win this game by 20-something points. It's just that line should not be 8. That line is a tax. That line is inflated because of how bad the Clippers were in Game 5. So it would be the smallest play on the Clippers, and then it would be an under on Magic and the Cavs. The series of the second round, the best series, I think, is Nuggets T-Wolves. They met last year in the playoffs. Nuggets 1-5, but the Nuggets are not as good as they were last year, even though they're still my pick to win it all. And the Timberwolves are much better than they were last year. So I'm going to pick this Nuggets in 7. I like Timberwolves plus a 1.5 on the series. I can't quite get there picking the Timberwolves. To me, it's 2 things. It's Jokic and it's home court. With Jokic and home court, it's just hard to pick them to actually lose to Minnesota. It's hard to actually say, you know what, Minnesota's going to win the series. They could. They have the talent. They have the size to match up with Denver. They have the length on the perimeter with Edwards, with McDaniels, Gobert, Towns. They're just long. They're big. They're athletic. They can bother Denver. Again, though, I just think at the end of the day, Denver's got the 7th game at home, and Denver has the best player in the sport in Jokic. So I'd expect a back-and-forth series. This is not going to be a sweep. Probably not going to go 5. Maybe it goes 6, but if they go 7, you win your bet no matter what. If you get Minnesota plus a 1.5, I give Minnesota a puncher's chance. Again, I kind of have to see somebody go in there in Denver and win a deciding game. I'd almost rather – not almost rather. I would rather, if I'm Minnesota, steal one early. I don't want to play Game 7 in Denver. I'd rather steal Game 1 or steal Game 2 in Denver and then just hold serve and hopefully close it out in 6 if I'm Minnesota. So if you're picking Minnesota, you've kind of figured they have to get it done in 6. I don't want to have to win a Game 7 in Denver. Of course, nothing's impossible, but that would kind of be my approach if I'm Minnesota. You're better off stealing one early than stealing one late, but I do think Denver has enough to win a really good, really competitive series. I will pick Denver in 7, and we're probably looking at Oklahoma City and Dallas in the second round rematch. What was it? 2011, the year Dallas won it all. They beat Oklahoma City in what was a good series. Oklahoma City was too young, too not ready for the moment. It's a little similar with Luka Dirk. There's some similarities. I mean, Dirk was much further along in his career, but Oklahoma City was the kind of team then that they are now, where younger. Who knows if they're ready for it? That was the team with Durant, Harden, Westbrook the year before they made the finals. So Oklahoma City is the one team that's just sitting there kind of waiting while all these other teams beat each other up. They took care of business in 4. They didn't get beat up. All these other teams have injuries. So Oklahoma City, I feel like, is being slept on a little bit. But at the end of the day, Denver's still my pick to come out of the West. I think we're all just kind of thinking the same thing, which is Denver versus Boston in the final. We all just kind of trust Denver more than we do Boston because Boston's come up short so many times. Denver's got the ring. We trust Jokic. We don't trust Boston. So nothing I've seen has taken me off that course. But hopefully we're headed for a good second round here. I thought we'd get a good first round. It really wasn't. I have a feeling second round will be much better. Longer series, good series. Other than Boston versus the winner of Cavs Magic, I think we're looking at all good series in the second round. So we will discuss those games. We'll discuss the Kentucky Derby. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. He is live from Churchill Downs. You can hear him NBC Sports Bet the Edge, the deep dive pod. He joins us now. It is the great Drew Dinsick. Drew, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me. Nowhere else I'd rather be than Churchill Downs. Nothing else I'd rather be talking about than the Kentucky Derby. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, we will get to the Derby, but you're a big NBA guy. 2 games on Friday. Let's get to those just quickly here.
Sure.
Orlando's laying 4. If they win, they will play a game 7 against the Cavs this weekend. If the Cavs win, they will advance and get destroyed by the Celtics. What do you like in this game?
So I'm not buying that the form you saw out of the Magic from games 3 and game 4 translates to game 6 now. I think the Cavs adjustments were pretty solid in game 6, and I don't 100% have confidence that Jared Allen is going to be good to go. But I do like, with his absence, the more assertive nature you saw from both Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. The Cavs desperately need these guys to get into some form, and they need it quick. And I personally think that there are more questions than answers to be had about the half-court offense for the Orlando Magic. So for me, 4 points is way too many. I don't object to the Magic being favored there, but I would have made it closer to 2. So for me, it's Cavs. And if I were not sweating out an uncomfortably large series bet on Cavs, I think I would be pretty aggressively betting into that 4 in the money line.
Mavericks are laying 8 against the Clippers. This line feels inflated, but I don't know that I want any part of this Clippers team after that performance in game 5. Do you have any feel for Clippers and Mavs here?
Yeah, this line's inflated, and I want no part of the Clippers. So yes, we are on exactly the same page. Fair here should be something more like 4.5. I think what we've seen to this point in the series is that, as you know, the Clippers will go as their 3-point shooting will go. And if they're hitting 50%, they could not only cover this 8, they're going to probably win. I don't think that's very likely, but I do think that there are more paths to competitiveness than the market is giving them credit for. You basically had a perfect game from a lot of role players for the Mavericks in game 5. And, once that was out of reach, you didn't really see much competitive fight from the Clippers. I doubt that's the case in an elimination game here. So I haven't bet it yet. I think 8 is too many. And, I might have feel gross if I bet it, but I'm kind of trending in that direction.
How about the series of the second round? Nuggets laying 4.5 to the T-Wolves. What do you got in this series?
I like the Wolves to be competitive. I think this is going to be a longer series. I took over 6.5 games at price, which I think is pretty nice. I think the T-Wolves, I don't even think, you don't have to look much past the head-to-heads we had from these teams during the regular season. This is a tough matchup. We had a really decent effort out of the T-Wolves in round 1 of the playoffs, obviously with the sweep of the Suns. And I think last year's playoff matchup where the T-Wolves were sort of figuring themselves out towards the end of that series portends pretty well for them being able to steal a game early in this one in Denver. I don't know for sure that it will be game 1, but the fact that they're on basically neutral rest is huge advantage for the T-Wolves, because typically Denver, if you remember from their campaign last year, had rest advantages in almost every game 1 as they went into round 2 and round 3. And ultimately, I think the Timberwolves are going to find their way deep into the series. I don't have an especially strong position on the Timberwolves to win the series, but my fair is about plus 180. And I've been watching that market super closely, hoping that there's just going to be some runaway move on the Nuggets. It's going to get me in at a better price for Timberwolves. If we don't see it, so be it. I'm probably out in terms of series betting, but I'm going to take the points with the Timberwolves in game 1 at 4.5. If they lose, if they don't cover, I'm going back to the well in game 2, just like with the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. So ultimately, I just think the market is way, way, way too hot on this Nuggets team when they have, number one, a very, very thin backcourt, and number two, some questions to answer on defense. So Timberwolves slight lean at market price, but not enough to get crazy unless the price starts to drift more.
It's hard for me to pick Minnesota. I like Minnesota plus the 1.5 games. It's hard for me to actually pick them to win just because of Jokic, just because of the 7th game. Let me ask it this way. If Minnesota had home court, which it looked like they might have for the end of the regular season, Minnesota had home court, who would you pick in this series?
Man, I honestly think that it would have to be Timberwolves in that case because, the home court advantage for the Nuggets is the biggest of any team in the playoffs, and it's not close. And if you can take one of those games out of their pocket and really put their backs against the wall to find wins in Minnesota, where you get a little bit of home whistle, where you can be a little bit more aggressive with your wing defense. That to me would spell upset potential. Surely you'd have maybe even a more aggressive, lopsided market than what we saw in round 1, where the Suns, were favorites against the Timberwolves. So I think the event, this being contested in Denver is pretty lucky for the Nuggets to ultimately make it to the next round. But I'm not going to be remotely surprised if the Timberwolves shock them early and if they win this series outright.
If it is OKC Dallas in the next round, what does that price look like? What does that series price look like? And what would be your initial lean here? Is OKC could just put their feet up and just wait for these other teams to beat each other up and just see who wins and go from there.
Yeah, so this is a little bit conditional on whether or not the Mavericks take care of business tomorrow night against the Clippers. If they do, and they get a couple of days to kind of get their legs under them, then I'm slight favorites for OKC at -130. I am pretty heavily invested at this point in Thunder to win the West because the price just didn't make sense with how much easier their path looked like it was going to be relative to the Nuggets. And part of my thinking was not being impressed really with what we had seen out of the Mavericks. But in game 5, boy, did Jason Kidd sort of figure out some of the rotation issues he was dealing with. And if that problem is solved, then it's going to be a war. If for whatever reason the Mavericks do go to game 7, then I'm giving a bigger advantage to Oklahoma City because of the rest. And I think I would be somewhere closer to -160 for the Thunder there. Right now, it's going to depend again on how good the Mavs look in their closeout game. Like if they look like world beaters like they did the other night, then you could see as low as a pick 'em out, and I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm going to be in a very difficult spot making a decision of get more directly in the head or just ride out my West Coast futures.
I'll just throw you the ball and I'll get out of the way. The Derby. How do we bet this? Matchups, outrights. I'm not much of a horses guy, so I know a lot of people just bet this once or twice a year. Just take it whatever direction you want to go here.
Yeah, so it's an interesting field, right? Most of our recent Derby memory fields have been pretty balanced and pretty strong, with a lot of horses who are comfortable running off the pace and closing strong. A number of horses that just high, like top class, and very few sprinters. That is all kind of changing, and we have a field here that has not only early speed, but early speed drawn both inside and outside. You got the one Dornoch, who's a sprinter effectively, or is proven to be a sprinter effectively, who's going to have to get sent out of the gate. He breaks well. He's going to probably take the lead on the rail. You have horse 21, who's breaking from the outside now, who's an early speed horse. So those two potentially causing a situation where the horses who are going for the lead in the inside get sandwiched a little bit, has me concerned about the likes of the Fiercenesses of the world, who are currently your market favorite. Fierceness is a horse who likes to run at or near the lead. He's a horse who doesn't love when things don't go his way, when he gets bumped around, when he gets asked to do a little bit more maneuvering in the track. Like he's not that type of horse. And so I think there is definitely a path to fading the favorite here, but it depends on how quickly they go out, because if Fierceness breaks well, if he's on the lead and the pace is not especially fast, he might not just win, he might win by margin, right? He is that much better than the next best horse from what we've seen in all the run-up races. The key question, though, is just, what happens to the pace? Will it be hot? 2 years ago, we had one of the hottest paces I've ever seen in the Kentucky Derby. Summer's tomorrow. The Japanese horse just went bananas out of the gate, pulled like almost all of the contenders with him. They all burned out, and that's really what opened the door for Rich Strike to have one of the most like ridiculous upset runs of all time. And I don't see that degree of pace melt coming, but I do think that an interesting situation where after Fierceness, all of the other class horses are closers, right? So it becomes a very different race if the pace is hot. And so the closers all have different prices, some of them higher than others. And the one that I'm the most excited about is Honor Marie, the 7 horse is kind of in the fixed pools, was about 22-1 to start the week. He's been bet down into the 16-1 range. I agree with that. He looks great out here. And I think he's ready to take another step forward and potentially, if not win outright, at least clean up the board if Fierceness is having the run of his life. So my two kind of strategies are get outright on Honor Marie. I got 17/7, where Fierceness just does his thing, runs his race. He's the best horse, and Honor Marie sweeps up the rest. And then I'm going to do some exotics where I'm putting Honor Marie on top and then filling out the rest of my card with some of the closers, like who could be bombs. You have horses like Endlessly, who looks like a closer, who could be a bomb. You have horses like Catalytic, who's a closer, who could be a bomb. So I think there's a potential for a massive superfecta payout with some of those horses down the card. And I'm probably in that scenario. I'm going to key both Honor Marie and Catching Freedom at the top. So my most optimistic and hopeful superfecta, or at least the biggest payout, is going to be something like 4-7 on top, over 4-7, over, and then put in a bunch of the longer shots to hit the board in the 3 and the 4, because that's a race where all the early speed goes too fast. They burn themselves out and they finish down at the bottom. And that is sort of my dream scenario as far as pace setup goes. So I don't know if it's more likely than like 20% that happens, but the fact that it's 20% and you can get a price like 20-1 on Honor Marie is enough for me to get involved.
Drew, I know you're busy, so I'll let you go. I appreciate it, man. Well, where can we find you this weekend or just in general?
Oh, man, I'll be on with Gil tomorrow morning, talking more kind of what am I seeing, which is exciting. And then we're going to be on the NBC coverage all weekend long. Digital snippets previewing all the horses online at NBC Sports. And I don't know that they're going to put me on the official broadcast yet. I don't know that I've earned my stripes, but if they do, I'll be sure to let everybody know.
All right, Drew, good luck this weekend. Hopefully let's cash some of these, and I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, best of luck, man.
All right, that will do it. Thank you to Drew Dinsick. Enjoy the weekend. We will be back Monday to break it all down. Rate, review, subscribe. See you guys then.